Okay, so on the pod this week on Nothing Considered, one of my opinions was that you don't need to, if you're a keyboard player, ever really practice slowly. So whenever I say that, I always get a lot of pushback from various people that say, well, that's different for you because you have facility at the keyboard, and for those of us that don't have facility at the keyboard, it's not so easy as to just not start off slowly. Now, the weird thing that I think about that opinion is that everybody that says that only practices slowly one way, and they've never tried a different way of practicing. And I'm pretty convinced that one of the main things that practicing slowly does is it gets you really good at playing slowly. But if you want to practice fast, if you want to practice fast, you can't start off at full speed, but you sort of can. And I realized in the midst of trying to defend my position that it's very difficult to explain what I was doing. And the guys were teasing me about sort of practicing in a Shankarian way by practicing the Erlini, which is sort of what I do. Now, these aren't techniques that are unique to me. I learned them originally from my composition teacher, Robert Helps, who learned them from his piano teacher, Abby Whiteside. So I want to take a little passage and show you how I would actually practice it so that you get a sense of what I'm talking about. So the first lick on the first Chopin etude goes like this. That was kind of a mess, but you get the idea of the lick. If I was practicing that to try to clean it up, make it good, the first thing I want to do is find out what does the center of my body need to do? And I want to do that for a couple of reasons. When you think about where you feel things here and here in your body. So what that is doing is of primary importance to my phrasing. So I'm never going to practice something separate from its emotional intent. All right, and in this case, what I have to do with the center of my body is having to do with the large motion. So I want to get what that is, and really it's this. I have to make it back to here. So I want to feel what that feels like in my body. That's up to tempo now. I've just left a lot of stuff out. All right, I feel what that feels like now. I'm particularly concerned with how do I have to lean? What is the large motion of the arm from the shoulder out as one bone? That's what I want to feel, what that feels like. I want to measure that distance. Once I have that down, then I'm going to add in a few more details. What I'm trying to do here I'm trying to retain that large sense of the phrase so that each of those little events on the way are on the way to something and that they're not separate events in themselves. They're being subsumed within the context of the large motion. Yeah, I missed that one. And then I want to come back and say, why did I miss that one note there? It was probably because some motion on this downward way, I interrupted the flow of the large arm motion. Okay, once I have that down, I'm still practicing at tempo within the context of that large phrase. I'm going to add in an extra detail. Yeah, but I felt that I didn't have that same large motion. Now I'm starting to feel those individual things within the phrase of the large motion. I'm feeling those individual things. And the other benefit of this is the focus is never on the fingers. The fingers are the last things. We don't want to focus on fingers. I don't feel things out here. The fingers will take care of themselves if I get the large motions under control. Some more work work to do on it, but that's the idea of how I practice things up to tempo and in a sort of, it is in a sort of Schenkerian way. I'm doing large motions, I'm concerned with the emotional intent, and then I gradually fill in the details as I go. And I think you can do that with any piece of music, especially if you're a keyboard player. And then practice is never dull because you're always emotionally engaged in what you're doing, and there's a rhythmic energy to everything that you're doing.